Thanks, Hayden. And yeah, thank you all for coming and for being part of this hustings on such an important election and such an important issue. I will just spend a couple of minutes just to introduce myself. Those of you that don't know me, I know quite a few people here. So I live nearby in Skenfrith, very closely associated with Monmouth, and been quite active on environmental issues here to help set up the Plastic Free Monmouth campaign, which was hugely successful, and also been part of the Climate Champions group that led the Town Council and the County Council to adopt climate emergencies. And this is a very important part of what we've done, and certainly working with the County Council, looking at some of the measures they're going to start taking forward. And I hope to be able to do more of that in the future. But I think I need to put some context of why we see the climate emergency so important. As I said, I live in Skenfrith, and you remember just a month ago we had some record floods in Skenfrith that swept through the village and devastated people's homes. So many of my neighbours had to be rescued in the middle of the night by boat because the water had already reached above the level of the radiators and the tables in their downstairs rooms, and they were having to shelter and escape up into the top floors. Now, that, Skenfrith has flooded before, and because it happens, and the standard defence for that is sandbags, because the flooding is never more than a few inches, and it never happens in October. This was a record-breaking flood that had gone through people's houses and ruined their homes. And many of them have had to leave their homes and find other places to rent and live in while their houses are being made habitable again. And that's just torn the community apart. Children have had to leave their friends, as the community's had its heart ripped out of it. And this is just a small example of, very important to those people affected, but a small example of the effects of climate change. This is a climate change flood, and it's happening more and more. We've seen it happen over the last few weeks in Yorkshire, but we've seen it happen time and time again around the world, and these types of effects are going to get worse and worse. And that is why we see this has got to be a climate election. So we are the party that is really going to put this forward. And we're glad that all the other parties now recognise there is a climate emergency. We're just not so convinced about what their plans are to deal with it. Because, 2 years ago when we were doing these hustings here, actually there was quite a lot of denial that there was a climate change or there was an emergency. For us, actually it's the most paramount issue of our time, the issue that we really need to address and deal with it. And the public agree with us. The public see it as the most important issue. But we will be driving this forward as an emergency. We'll be taking measures to try and make ourselves carbon neutral by 2030, because it's only us that has the urgency to deal with this. The other parties, they give lots of headline figures that they put out, but actually a lot of them are sort of compromises and say, well, we'll do what we can without destroying business too much, without destroying jobs or what have you. This is an emergency, and we need an emergency response. And our response will be to completely decarbonise our energy production, will be to change our public transport systems, will be to plant 700 million trees, will be to create thousands, if not millions, of green jobs in sustainable industries that are going to provide all of this transition. And we want a fair and just transition for the climate emergency. And as I said, we're not the ones that are going to compromise. We're not the ones that, for example, early this year, both the Conservatives and the Labour parties in Cumbria approved the opening of a new coal mine at the same time as they're talking about a climate emergency. That is not a response that is appropriate for a climate emergency. Supporting airport expansion is not an appropriate response for a climate emergency. We have to deal with this. We cannot just let headline pledges and nice meaning words obscure us from the fact we're an emergency. There's only one party that's taking this seriously, and that's the Green Party. So thank you.